All right, so today we're diving into a pretty sneaky threat lurking online. Credential stuffing.
Okay.
It's kind of invisible, but it can really mess with your online life.
Yeah.
So imagine this.
Yeah.
Your login info, the usernames and passwords
Right.
you use for like everything
Uh-huh.
falling into the wrong hands.
Oh, yeah.
That's credential stuffing in a nutshell.
Wow.
And today we're going to break it down,
Oh.
see how it works,
Yeah.
and most importantly, how to protect yourself.
So important.
So
Yeah.
what's really interesting about credential stuffing
Uh-huh.
is that it kind of takes advantage of our own bad habits.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Okay.
How many online accounts do you have?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Right. Way too many. And be honest.
Yeah.
How many of those share the same password?
Oh, probably too many to admit.
I know I'm guilty of that too.
It's so easy to just use the same one over and over again.
It's so tempting.
Yeah, especially when you've got like a million different logins.
But I have a feeling you're going to tell me that's a terrible idea.
Well, yeah, it's not great.
Okay.
Because every time you reuse a password, you're basically giving hackers another chance to get in.
Yikes.
Yeah, and credential stuffing attacks, they just love that.
So let's get into the details.
Okay.
How does this actually work?
Right.
Is it just like hackers randomly guessing passwords?
It's a little more clever than that.
Okay.
Imagine like a swarm of little digital bees,
Okay.
each one carrying a stolen username and password combo.
Okay.
And these bees are actually bots.
Ah.
Automated programs designed to try out these logins on tons of different websites.
So they're not guessing, they're using actual stolen info.
Right. And
Where'd they get this info?
Well, all sorts of places, data breaches, phishing attacks, even those shady password dump sites you hear about.
Where logins are basically traded like baseball cards.
Exactly. It's crazy.
So it's not just about one attack. It's like this ripple effect of all these stolen credentials just floating around out there.
Right. And there was this one database called collection #15, and it had something like 22 billion of these username password pairs.
22 billion.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
It really shows you just how common data breaches are and how easy it is for this stolen info to end up in the wrong hands.
And we're not talking about your stereotypical hacker in a hoodie here.
No, not at all.
These are organized operations using sophisticated tools to make these attacks harder to detect.
They're smart.
Okay, so let's walk through this.
Sure.
Let's say my credentials get scooped up in a data breach.
Okay.
What happens next?
So it's kind of step-by-step process.
Right.
First, those credentials are stolen, like we talked about.
Right.
Then these automated bots, they get to work.
Uh-huh.
They take those stolen logins and they systematically try them out on all sorts of websites.
So like social media banking, shopping?
Yeah, all of that.
And what if one of those combinations happens to be a match for one of my accounts?
Oh, then it's not good.
What could happen?
Well, let's just imagine. Okay.
You wake up one morning and your bank account's been drained.
Oh, no.
Or your social media has been hacked and it's sending out spam or even malware.
That's awful.
Or maybe someone's impersonating you online, using your account to scam your friends and family.
So basically a lot of bad things.
Yeah, unfortunately, these are all real possibilities after a credential stuffing attack.
So it's not just financial losses we have to worry about.
Right.
Could be our personal data, too.
Exactly.
Private messages, photos, files.
Anything you store online could be at risk.
So even if they don't drain my bank account, they could still steal my identity.
Exactly.
Or really mess up my personal life.
It's scary stuff.
And even if I change my password on the account that was hacked, it might be too late.
Yeah, it could be.
Those stolen credentials could already be out there on the dark web,
Right.
being sold and resold to other attackers.
Yeah.
So they could be used in attacks for years to come.
That's the scary part.
So we've established credential stuffing is bad news.
For individuals and organizations.
Definitely.
And speaking of organizations, I'm thinking about the fallout for businesses if their customer data gets compromised.
That's a huge issue.
What are the consequences?
I mean, think about it.
Okay.
Reputational damage,
Yeah.
loss of customer trust, legal and financial ramifications.
It's a nightmare.
It can be devastating.
And the cost of a data breach is not small.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
The average data breach in 2022 cost businesses over $4 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to take this seriously.
Absolutely.
And start taking steps to protect ourselves.
For sure.
So what's the most important thing people can do right now to improve their online security?
Well, the absolutely most important thing is multi-factor authentication.
MFA.
Yeah, enabling that on all your accounts.
Okay, so explain that a little more.
So it's like having an extra lock on your door.
Okay.
Even if someone gets your password, they still can't get in without that second factor.
It's like a code sent to your phone.
Exactly, or a biometric scan.
So it's not just about having a strong password.
Yeah.
It's about that extra layer of verification.
Right, it's like trust but verify.
I like it.
And there's even stronger options out there, like FIDO2 authentication.
I do.
Yeah, it's designed to be phishing resistant and even more secure.
Okay.
It's not everywhere yet, but it's something to keep an eye out for.
So you mentioned password managers earlier.
Huh?
And I'll be honest, I've been kind of resistant to using one.
Yeah, I get
It
it.
feels like just one more thing to keep track of.
I understand, but let me ask you this.
Okay.
How many online accounts do you have?
Oh, gosh, so many.
And how many of those use truly unique and complex passwords?
Okay, you got me there. Probably not enough.
It's so easy to just reuse the same password over and over.
Or like slight variations of it.
Right, exactly.
But that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, our brains aren't wired for security. They're wired for convenience.
So even if I think I can remember all my passwords, I'm probably fooling myself.
It's likely. And even if you could remember them, are they really strong and unique?
So like a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, symbols.
Right, and at least 12 characters long.
Okay, yeah, that's beyond me.
A password manager is like an external brain for your passwords.
Okay.
It generates and stores them securely so you don't have to...
All right, you've convinced me password manager it is.
Good.
So MFA and password managers, those are the basics.
Definitely.
But are there any other strategies we can use?
Absolutely. One thing that's often overlooked is unique usernames.
Usernames.
We tend to just use our email addresses for everything.
Oh, yeah. So easy.
But if your email address gets compromised,
Uh-oh.
that gives attackers access to all those accounts linked to it.
So it's like a single point of failure.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
If every door in your house used the same key, breaking into one room gives you access to the whole house.
Oh, I see.
But if each door has a unique key, the damage is limited.
That makes sense. So unique usernames, unique passwords, and MFA.
You got it.
But what about when we have to give our login info to websites?
Yeah, like signing up for a new service or making a purchase.
Exactly.
That's where a little skepticism comes in handy.
Yeah.
Before you enter your info on any website, take a second to look it over.
Like check the URL.
Right, make sure it looks right.
And look for any red flags.
Exactly, like misspellings or weird grammar.
So it's about being mindful and not just blindly entering info.
Right. Be cautious. It's like looking both ways before you cross the street.
It's a simple step, but it can prevent a big problem.
And watch out for phishing attempts.
Phishing.
Yeah, those fake emails or messages trying to trick you into giving up your login details.
Oh yeah, those are sneaky.
Don't click on links or attachments from sources you don't trust.
Good advice.
If something feels off, trust your gut.
Like develop a spidey sense for online scams.
Exactly. The more you learn about how attackers operate, the easier it is to spot them.
And if you're ever unsure,
Yeah.
just contact the company directly to verify.
Good idea.
So much of this comes down to education and awareness.
It really does.
The more we know, the better prepared we are.
Knowledge is power.
And there are so many resources available.
There are websites like NIST,
What's NIST?
the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Okay.
They've got tons of info on cybersecurity best practices.
And I bet there are podcasts and articles too.
Oh, yeah, tons of them. Even online courses.
So no excuse for being in the dark.
Nope.
But what about people who aren't tech savvy?
Uh-huh.
It can feel overwhelming to keep up with all this.
I understand that, but you don't have to become a cybersecurity expert overnight.
Okay, good.
Just start with the
That's
basics.
Like strong passwords, MFA password manager.
Exactly. Then gradually add more measures as you get comfortable.
So it's like building any good habit.
Right. Start small and build up over time.
And it's not just about protecting ourselves, it's about protecting others too,
That's a great point.
like our friends and family.
Yeah, especially those who might not be as tech savvy.
So talk to them. Share what we know.
Absolutely. We all have a responsibility to help each other stay safe online.
It's about creating a culture of security.
Exactly. Where we all look out for each other.
This has been really insightful.
Glad to hear it.
We've covered so much, but it feels like we've just scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn, especially in cybersecurity.
Because it's constantly changing.
Right. But the key is to remember we're not helpless victims.
Yeah.
We can take control of our online security and protect ourselves.
Okay, so before we wrap up,
Yeah.
one final question.
Okay.
If you could give our listeners one piece of advice to help them be more secure online, what would it be?
That's a tough one, but I think the most important thing is to assume you've already been breached.
Or we've been breached.
Yeah, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but just hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
When you start with the idea that your info's already out there,
Uh-huh.
it changes your mindset.
How so?
Instead of thinking, it won't happen to me, you start thinking, it might have already happened.
Okay.
And that makes you way more proactive about security.
So instead of being complacent, we're more aware of the risks.
Exactly. It's like having a fire escape plan.
Okay.
You hope you never have to use it, but if you do, you're prepared.
Right.
So your fire escape plan for online security includes things like strong passwords, MFA, a password manager.
Got it. So be prepared for the worst, even if we hope for the best.
Right. And it's not about being paranoid. It's about being realistic.
Because data breaches are so common.
Exactly. It's very likely some of your info is already out there.
So if we assume we've already been breached, what should we do?
Well, the first thing is to change your passwords right away.
All of them.
Yeah, and don't just tweak your old passwords. Create completely new, strong, unique passwords for every important account.
So this is where a password manager comes in.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Hmm.
A password manager will generate and store those complex passwords for you.
Okay, so new passwords, password manager. What else?
Enable multi-factor authentication everywhere you can.
That's the two-factor verification we talked about.
Right. It's such a simple but effective way to make your accounts more secure.
Even though it seems like a small thing.
Yeah, but it can make a big difference.
So strong passwords, MFA password manager, any other must-dos?
Keep a close eye on your accounts for any weird activity.
Like what kind of activity?
Check your bank statements regularly, look over your credit reports, watch your social media for anything suspicious.
So be proactive and don't wait for something to go wrong.
Exactly. The sooner you catch something, the better.
And don't be afraid to report any potential fraud.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Report it to the authorities or the companies involved.
This has been a real eye-opener.
I'm glad it was helpful.
Cybersecurity is about more than just technology. It's about awareness and taking responsibility for our online lives.
You got it. And even though the threats are always changing, the basic principles of good security stay the same.
Stay informed, be proactive, protect your digital identity.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, it's been great diving deep into this with you.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, we hope this has given you some tools to stay safe online.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.
That's the key.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into credential stuffing. Until next time.